Andy, so thanks very much for taking the opportunity to join us today. Can you just introduce yourself to those watching this?
Yeah, hi. So my name's Andy Goldborn, and I've essentially got responsibility for all of the insurances that we arrange at Howden on behalf of all of the RFU community clubs. So we provide public liability and employers liability and catastrophic personal accident cover for clubs that affiliate to the RFU from National League 1 and below, so level 3, 4, 5, the whole way down the pyramid through the game. Everybody's covered in individual policies that the RFU arrange through us.
Fantastic. And you mentioned some of the services there, so let's do this right at the start. If people had any inquiries or some of the bits that we talk about later on, if there was some real specific questions that they had, is there a way that they can reach out to Howdens to get that support?
Yeah, absolutely. And there are two or three main policies. So the public liability, the personal accident cover, and then a directors and officers cover that we arrange. And the clubs get the same cover, whatever level they're playing at throughout the game. But because there's just the three policies, obviously insurance people can find it quite confusing. We appreciate that. What I'll do, if I can, is just quickly share my screen and show you a website that we've got, which is our insurance centre. And what we've got here is what we call the England Rugby Insurance Centre. So this is an insurance website that we host, and within it there is all kinds of information about different areas of the cover that we provide. So information for coaches, clubs, players, as you can see, match officials, and it also links in to the RFU risk assessment programme that we operate for the RFU as well. Any documentation that clubs need, quite often clubs will need to provide evidence that they are insured themselves through the RFU policy. If you go to the Policy and Document Hub, you can download from there lots of information, and also the specific policy confirmations of cover that you need as a club to be able to provide somebody else to show that you're insured. So your employer's liability certificate, for example, your confirmation of your liability policy. So they're all there for clubs if they want to have access, and they can also effectively see as much or as little detail as they want. There's some quite high level stuff, but then all of the specific policy wordings there as well if people really want to get into the detail of it.
So if it's okay, Andy, we'll just explore some of the frequently asked questions that schools, that clubs have with us regarding their school links. So I guess the first question is, a rugby club is going into a school with club members to do some coaching. Are they covered under that insurance policy that you referenced there?
Yeah, and that's a very simple yes, very straightforward. From a liability point of view, just to be clear, what we're talking about in terms of are the club covered is the club protected if somebody gets injured as a result of what they're doing and the club ends up facing a claim, being sued, something like that. But it is a very simple yes. We appreciate, and the underwriters appreciate, that clubs do a lot of this kind of community work. It's how you grow the game locally. It's how you encourage youngsters from the local schools to come and join your club. It's absolutely fine, and it's all covered under the insurance that the RFU provide. And just going back to the website bit again, any club that's going into a school will almost certainly need to provide to the school evidence that they are insured under the RFU policy, and the document that they need is on that downloads page on the website for them.
Fantastic. And is that anyone who's a member within that club that's covered under that?
It's generally regarded, I think the idea is that if somebody's going to go into a school and coach, they'll be in some way capable, qualified, experienced in terms of coaching, as opposed to just a general member of the club. What the expectation from insurers is that anybody who's doing any kind of work like that is working within their general basic competency. A lot of that, typically, if you're having to evidence that, you're going back to qualifications and coaching courses and things like that. Again, the straightforward answer is yes, people are covered if they're going to do work in a school on behalf of a club. But we generally would say if you're coaching, it probably should be the club coach or somebody who can in some way evidence the competency that they've got to be able to be delivering that activity to the kids.
Fantastic. And we know when we're talking about clubs going into schools to do that, some clubs will outsource that to a third-party provider. What are some of the considerations that clubs should have if they're getting a third party or a self-employed coach potentially to go and do that on their behalf?
The main thing to bear in mind really when a club's outsourcing that work to somebody else to go into the school is effectively, and it sounds really obvious, but it's not the club that's going in to do it. So the third party, the company, the self-employed coach who are delivering the activity in the school, they're not going to be covered under the club's insurance. So the main consideration for a club really is if they've got an agreement with a school that they're going to deliver some kind of activity, but they're getting somebody else to do it on their behalf, the club needs to make sure that the third party are themselves appropriately insured in order to deliver that, because the club will have no control over how that activity is being delivered and what's going on in the school, and they need to make sure that they're not held responsible for it in any way. So making sure that the third party, the self-employed coach, has got the insurance cover in place is paramount.
Fantastic. And then obviously a number of rugby clubs will be having events at a club site, hosting a number of schools, for example, or some teacher activity there. Again, obvious question, are clubs insured for that activity?
Yeah, and again, it's the really simple, yes, they are. Clubs host all kinds of things at their own premises on their sites, and it's part and parcel of what the insurance is there to provide. We would look on that in the same way, for example, as we'd look on a club hosting a local rugby festival with teams from other clubs coming to play there. The insurance policy provides that protection for the club in respect to their liabilities when anybody's coming onto their premises, whether that's the postman delivering the mail, or another club, or some youngsters from a local school coming to take part in a festival or some kind of an event there.
That's excellent. Thank you very much for that. And Andy, thanks very much for taking the opportunity to join us for this and for your ongoing support of what we're doing with the RFU. We'll put the links to the website and also to the contact email within the description on this video and within the body of it as well. But thank you again for taking the time to join us.
No, Chris, pleasure. Take care.